Hi, guys. Okay, it is March 12th, 2021. We are going to be doing the stimulus Q&A and update for you guys. So if anybody missed it, I had a video that I did on Wednesday that went into a lot of the details of the new stimulus bill. So new stimulus bill was passed on Wednesday, signed into law by the president yesterday, and is now being enacted. So, of course, as we have seen, this is not our first rodeo anymore. So we know it's going to take a little time, right, for them to take everything that's in this stimulus bill and make it into reality. But there is a lot in here. And so there's a lot of new updates or a lot of important things to pay attention to. And thank you, Autumn. You're sweet. Yes, this is my springy. I'm short sleeves. Usually I wear long sleeves like year round because I'm always freezing in my in my house. But today I felt like it was a short sleeve kind of day. It feels like, I think with the time change coming up this weekend, I'm all about it. Okay. So I'm going to take your questions here in a little bit. Anything on this new stimulus bill, anything on PPP. There's not a whole lot. So I'm going to talk about PPP real quick first, and then I'm going to talk about stimulus checks. I made you guys a graph because you guys know I like to make a little flow chart. Made you a flow chart. I'm going to show you here in a minute about your stimulus checks and how that impacts when you file for taxes. But first, the one thing I want to talk about on PPP, the new stimulus bill really didn't include a whole heck of a lot new with regards to PPP. Okay, there's another $7 billion that they put in, but they didn't extend any deadlines, things like that. However, the deadline is still March 31st. So it seems like we have some time. And when I looked too, by the way, I'm going to show you guys this is some of the data that they put out recently. I don't know how easy it is to see. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you guys. But basically, this was an interesting chart that I saw where the blue is essentially the loans, I guess, that they, the number of applications they're receiving. Then this kind of, grayish color is the amount of that has been approved. So you can see towards the very beginning, we had some really big spikes in January, and now it's kind of starting to come down and level off. Probably a few different reasons for that. But we still have, so right now, they've approved about 162 billion. This round had $284 billion. So we've still got another 120 billion-ish left. However, remember, guys, this year it's taking longer. Okay, this year, I guess it is this year. This round is taking longer to get out, whether it's your first draw or your second draw. They've put more in the way of different protocols and things like that to try to prevent fraud. And so there is more procedures that they have put out there. So what does that mean? It's taking longer. And that March 31st, as of right now, that is not the last day you can apply. So it's really important to mention that. That's the last day of the program. So what I mean to say there is some banks have already started, because it's taking a couple of weeks to fund these things, have already started no longer taking new applications. So if you've been sitting around waiting, thinking about PPP, unsure if you should do it, waiting on people to do, to switch to allow you, if you're a self-employed person, to go to the gross income line, right? If you've been waiting on it, I want you to go try and do it today. Get that party started today. Because I think that, that is going to be really something that you're not going to want to miss out on. And there are going to be people that are going to miss out on this because they waited too long. Could it get extended? Maybe. But it also may not. And so I think we need to assume that it's not going to, and make sure that you don't miss out on potentially getting 100% forgivable money if you qualify. Okay. So I just wanted to say that was kind of one of my PSAs for the day. I have two PSAs for today. Number one, apply for your PPP loans. If you haven't gotten your first, definitely apply. If you haven't gotten your second, I want you to apply if you can show that 25% reduction in gross receipts when you compare one quarter of 2020 versus the same quarter of 2019. As long as you can do that, you can get a second draw on your PPP loan, but do it fast. Do not wait on this. Okay, so let's talk about where to apply. This is a great question. Usually I've been saying Bluevine, but they've been having some issues. I have been recommending Novo. Hang on, let me put in here my link for Bank Novo. JamieTrull.com/Novo. You do need to open an account. So that's the only thing. You would go here, you'd open an account, and then you should be able to apply for a PPP loan. Usually the accounts are pretty fast, and I've heard some good responses from people. But again, we're getting kind of close to the end here. You could try PayPal. PayPal is doing it, I know, on gross income. So PayPal is still one that you could look at. And if others have one, I think Cross River maybe is another one. So anybody, if you guys have banks that have been taking it, yes. So like Mark said, Cross River is another one. So there are some banks out there that are doing it based on gross income for self-employed people who are filing a Schedule C. That means you can use your line 7 to calculate the loan instead of your line 31. Square 2, Sorrel says. So lots of different options out there, but go ahead and put that application in. Don't sleep on it anymore because these banks, it's going to get smaller and smaller, further and far between. Okay, good. I'm glad that the experience with Novo was great. Yeah, they're really quick to open the accounts and get them started. Make sure to use my link for that we just showed you so that you can get, there's some special perks and things like that you can get with that. Let's see. Yeah, Square, I think, is good too. At this point, I think you just want to find somebody, if you want to use gross income, just make sure that they're using that. Let's see. Okay, good. So Jody said it was quick for the initial process for Novo. Awesome. It's with the SBA. Okay, great. So yeah, check out Novo or check out Square, PayPal, some of these other ones, and you guys can get started. I love Novo. If you need a business bank account anyway, go jump on Novo because they have a cool thing that you can do reserve accounts with it. It's awesome. I am a big fan. That's what I use for my completely free business banking. Okay. So let's move on. That was PPP. That was the announcement. That was my first PSA. Second PSA of the day. Don't rush to file your taxes right now. There's very little reason. I'm talking personal taxes here, not necessarily business taxes, because business taxes are still due in 3 days. That's for my S Corps and my C Corps. Those are still due. Wouldn't be hurtful to file an extension for those as well, because there are some things that could impact that, especially if you're planning to apply to do an amended 941 and claim your employee retention tax credit and you haven't done it yet, then you might want to extend your business tax return too. But when it comes to personal, don't rush. Don't rush, you guys. So the reason I say that is because a lot of the things that, I didn't even see this. Let's see. I don't know. So I just don't want you guys to be rushing. And the reason for that is because a lot of the things in the stimulus bill are going to impact the tax forms. So most specifically, it's going to be, you're going to be impacted. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought because there's somebody running outside. It's Friday, you guys. Okay, so personal tax returns, make sure that you don't rush to them. Lots of the things in the stimulus bill will impact it. First and foremost, unemployment. Now, the first $10,200 you got of unemployment last year is not going to be taxable. Okay, it's not going to be taxable. So what does that mean? That means that if you already applied for, or you already, if you already filed your tax return, I'm losing words today. Does that happen to you guys? You already filed your tax return for 2020 and you got unemployment last year, you're probably going to have to amend your tax return. Don't do it right now because the tax forms aren't updated yet. Again, it takes them some time. So there are things like that are going to, that you're going to want to think about when you're filing your taxes. So hold on. Now, I still think you should do the work behind it, get all your stuff to your tax preparer. Don't be holding off on anything. You know, at least kind of get that ball rolling. I don't mean to just wait on everything. Just don't press the file button until you know, some of this stuff has been updated through these tax forms. So that's my other PSA right now. Okay. That's my other PSA. Yes. So Jackie says, yeah. So extend your business return if you plan on amending your 941, 100%. I am ready for the weekend. And I haven't had my coffee today. That's the problem, you guys. I have not had my coffee today. I meant to have it before I jumped on here and then I didn't have enough time. So I didn't even make it. So that's what you're getting. You're getting non-coffee afternoon Friday, Jamie. And it's, whew, I need to wake up. Okay. So that's my second PSA. Don't file your taxes right now. Okay. Hold out a couple of weeks, maybe give it time. Now still, like I said, get all your stuff to your tax preparer. That's not going to change, but you don't press the button right now because you can always amend. Amending is not a huge deal, but it's just easier not to. Now, here's my personal belief. I believe they're going to extend the tax deadline. I believe that they are going to extend the deadline to file your personal taxes. Why do I think they're going to extend it? Well, they've kind of alluded to a little bit. And then especially with all these changes, I just think I'm looking at the clock. We're already March 12th. It's crazy to me to think that April 15th is going to continue to be the date, but maybe not. So we'll see. So we're still going to, March, assuming that that's the date. But I would also think about potentially even extending if you feel like you need that extra time. And let me talk about, I'm going to talk about yes, exactly. So Gloria said, I'll ask them to hold the return for a bit. Yeah, just hang out on it because again, there are going to be some updates to some of these forms that are going to come through. They even changed a few things with little things. So it's not even just unemployment. So even if you didn't get unemployment and you're thinking, well, I can go ahead and apply. One of the things that they adjusted is that now instead of when we talk about the for self-employed people that can get COVID sick leave and family leave, if you had to stay home to stay home with kids or something like that because of their school being closed or their place of care, they've increased the number of days. So it used to be 50 and now it's 60 that you can take. So that's going to change. So there's little changes that are going to come through that I don't want you guys to miss out on that could apply to you. So I just would say, hold off. You do now, even if you extend, remember, even if you do file a tax extension, which is easy to do, it's not hard, you still are responsible for paying the estimated amount due, right? So you still want to calculate out what you're probably going to have due, but you don't have to file the return just yet if you want to wait some of this out. So that just keeps you from having to pay the interest and the penalties on all of it. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. And there may be PPP might get extended as well. I think if there is money left over, it may get extended until that money is depleted. They may move it a couple of weeks. I don't see it getting extended like 3 months or anything like that. It would be a very short amount of time, I think, if it did get extended, and it would probably only be what's been funded at this point. Okay. Let's see. I'm on unemployment, and after preparing my taxes before the stimulus, I would have owed the IRS, but gotten a sizable refund from the state. Should I still wait to file? Yes, you should. If you're on unemployment, you should wait to file because you want to make sure that they've updated the form to give you like the basically exemption for that first $10,200 in unemployment. You can, but I honestly, to me, unless you need that money ASAP, like right this second, if you can wait a couple of weeks, I'd wait a couple of weeks, especially if you drew on unemployment, because amending can cost money as well. And it's just, more of a hassle and you may end up not doing it. So I am just of the persuasion, like give it 2 to 3 weeks for them to update these forms, hopefully faster. And then make sure that they've been updated so that you don't kind of miss out on money and leave it on the table. I think that's the best bet for most people. Okay. So that was my second PSA. Now let's talk stimulus checks, because this also plays into when you file your taxes, because a lot of people are asking this. Okay. So I made a graphic for you guys about your stimulus checks. Let me find it. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see this. You might have to, if you're on your phone, you might have to like turn it a little bit to be able to see this whole thing. I will go in and share this in the big group as well. But here's the deal with your stimulus check. So reminder, $1,400 per person. That includes kids, right? That includes adult dependents as well. So college kids or parents that you might be claiming as dependents on your tax return, that is all included here. So $1,400. Now, a couple things to note on that here, and you can see this over here, the income thresholds. So let's start over here, you guys. Hopefully you can see it. Income thresholds for this $1,400 check, okay? And again, this is the third stimulus check we're talking about. If you are single and made under $75,000, you'll get the whole thing. It phases out between $75,000 and $80,000. You get nothing over $80,000. If you're head of household and you make $112,500 or less, you get the whole thing. If you make between there and $120,000, it starts to phase out, and over $120,000, you get nothing. If you are married filing jointly and you make $150,000 or less, you get the whole thing. If it's between $150,000 and $160,000, then then it starts phasing out, and over $160,000, you get nothing. Okay. All right. So what does that mean exactly? So what that means is the income limits are a little bit tighter, right, than they were last time. So it used to be between, for married, for example, 150 and 100 and 200. So they're trying to tighten it a little bit such that it gets more in the hands of the people that really need it. That's the hope, or that's the goal of them tightening those ranges. But here's the thing about that. You get 3 chances ultimately to get the stimulus check. So you should be able to get this stimulus check, okay, if you're under the limits 2019, 2020, or 2021. Remember, we're talking adjusted gross income. So on your 2020 tax return, that's line 11. It moves around sometimes as to what line that is, but adjusted gross income we're talking about. So 3 different chances, right? So if any of those, you should be able to do it. Now you have to, but there are some rules, some timing that you need to pay attention to here to make sure that you maximize this, okay? So here's how you maximize the amount that you can get. Number 1, let's start over here on, number 1. So let's say, so again, it starts with 2019. There's some special rules. It's a little different if you don't have a 2019 on file. I don't know all the rules and specifics around how they're going to calculate it. They may be using 2018, I'm assuming, but I haven't gone into depth on that. But assuming you have a 2019 tax return that has been filed, they will look at your 2019 AGI. Now, some people have been asking me, well, wait a second, if I already filed, or if I try, like if I go really fast to file my 2020 return, like today, can it be based off of 2020? Well, here's the thing, right? No, I personally don't believe that the IRS will get their act together that fast. Now, when you actually read the text in the bill, it says, yes, it's going to go by, the most recent one on file. But I know the IRS pretty well. And I know what happened last year. And last year, even people that had filed 2019 a couple of months before their stimulus checks were still getting the checks based off of the year prior. So that is why I am pretty sure that the vast majority of people, the first kind of checkpoint is going to be 2019. Okay. So if you qualified, if you were under the income limits in 2019, you'll get your check, either the full amount or a prorated one if you're between that, the threshold where it phases out. But if you get the whole one, then great. It's yours. You get to keep it. Even if your income triples in 2020 and 2021, it's still yours. Yay. So that's an exciting thing. So that's kind of the first tripwires. They'll look at 2019, what's on file right now, and you'll get that one soon. So if you qualify based on 2019, you should get that by, call it early April. I would say most likely, especially if you've gotten your other ones on time, you'll get them pretty quick. They'll probably start cutting these as early as next week. Okay. But let's say that's not you and you're like, okay, but I didn't qualify. I was over the income limits in 2019. That's okay, because you can still qualify for 2020 as your next kind of checkpoint. And then 2021 is an option too. So 2020, however, there's some special rules. If you want 2020, listen up here, you guys. If you want 2020 to be the year you use to calculate your stimulus check. So let's say your income was above the threshold in 2019. It was above it in 2020. You think it's going to be back above it in 2021, but 2020 was a crap year, which it was for a lot of people, right? So if that's you and you're like, I really want to make sure that I get this based on 2020. So what they've done now is they've said, okay, essentially, and we're going to come here. So let's say you're either this 2019, you were partially, you got a partial check maybe, or you got none at all because you were above the income limits. Now you're going to come down here. Is 2020 income under the threshold? If the answer is no, let's say you still made above, obviously you're not going to get a check. But if the answer is yes, if you had a crap year in 2020, then it goes to this. Is your 2020 return filed by the additional payment determination date? Okay. What the heck is the additional payment determination date? Now, that was just kind of a new concept that they put into this stimulus. All right. So what this means is the additional payment determination date, as of right now, it's basically it's right here. It's the earlier of 3 months after the filing deadline. So right, your personal filing deadline right now is set for April 15th. 3 months after that, or September 1st, 2021, the earlier of. So you might be saying, wait a second though, but we know that the filing deadline is April 15th. So doesn't that mean it's July 15th as the additional payment determination date? Yes, except this is where I think that why I think they might be setting us up to extend the tax filing deadline. Because they're saying like, okay, if we extend it, then that's going to change that. Otherwise, they would have just put July 15th, right? But what they're saying is, okay, they want to give you some time after the filing deadline to get that in. So it's the earlier of 3 months after the filing deadline or September 1st, 2021. So as of right now, that's July 15th. So going under the assumption they don't move the tax deadline, that means you would extend, right? You would extend your tax return, which means it gives you till October 15th. But you don't want to wait till October 15th. If your 2020 is the lowest income, if it's lower than what you had in 2019 and you didn't get your full stimulus check, you want to get your return in by that July 15th. Now, obviously, maybe it becomes August 15th if they move tax day to May or something like that. But ultimately, right now, that is July 15th. So if you do that, then that's the additional payment determination date. And so they'll give you that check. It's kind of like a recalibration, like, oh, okay, if you didn't get the check before and you earned it now we're going to cut you that check. So that's kind of the second sort of checkpoint, if you will. They'll look at 2019, and then as long as you get this in by that date for 2020, they'll look at 2020. And then you guys, even if neither of those count, right? Or maybe you missed the deadline in 2020, you didn't get it in, then you're going to go to 2021. So when you file your 2021 return, if your income limits are, if they're under those thresholds, if you would qualify in 2021 and you haven't gotten it yet, or you've only gotten a partial amount, they're going to true you up on your 2021 tax return. So you have three options: 2019, 2020, 2021. So I hope that makes sense, but it is important for you to make sure to be paying attention to these filing deadlines, especially if 2020 is the year you want to use for this. So I'm a fan of waiting right now, potentially extending, especially if they don't extend the tax filing deadline, but still making sure that you get your tax return in by, in this case, July 15th. You might have a little bit more flex if they do extend the deadline. You might have until like September 1st. But so how do we feel about that? Does that make any sense to you guys? Let me know. I'll post this out in the group too, though, so that you can see it. But let me know your thoughts on the stimulus check. Does that kind of jive with you guys? Are you let's see, are you guys feeling good about that? All right, it's hard for me to see. So some of you are having conversations in here, so it's a little tough. I'm looking back to see what questions haven't been answered. So I'm going back through your questions. Let's see. I can't remember if I got this one, but yes, more than likely you're going to have to amend your return. Don't do it yet though, because the tax forms are not updated. But likely, yes, to get that back, you would amend. Okay. It does not look like that is happening. There's not been anything else on that. The only real options there, if it makes a difference, is to potentially even repay your loan and then apply for a new one, but that is super duper risky. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but I'll let you know if anything further comes on. Again, I think in some ways it depends. If there's a lot of money left in this program at the end, maybe they'll do something, but it would take a lot more funding, I think, for them to be able to go back and retroactively allow people to use their gross income instead of their net that have already received those loans. And it's just administratively would be really crazy. Oh, I hadn't seen this, but yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Somebody tell me what this article says. Does it give a date for when they would potentially be suggesting to extend it to? I think if there's money that ends up at the end, and it looks like there probably will be, it's not going to be a ton though. It's going to be some, but it's not going to be a huge amount. So I could see them definitely, extending that. Okay. So with having a baby, so you'll always get trued up by your tax return. So you may not get that money ahead of time, but these are tax credits. So if you're talking about 2020, the last stimulus is, you will get that trued up when you when you file your 2020 tax return. You'll get extra money for her because you didn't get it before. Or if you have a baby in 2020, let's say, you would get that on your 2021 for this current stimulus. Let me see. Yeah, so some banks are saying yes, some banks are saying no. Talk to your bank, but let's see. I read this morning PP apps extended 2 months. They haven't done it yet though, right? They're trying right now still. They're asking. Okay, so 60 days. That makes sense, but I don't think the funding is going to last 60 days. So just FYI, we've got $120 billion left. It could last the 60 days, but I still wouldn't sleep on it. I guess I'll say that. And that may allow you to get a second round of PPP, especially if they extend it. It's just timing wise, it would be pretty hard to get to and be able to really defend that. I'm recommending that people need to use the whole thing over a minimum of 8 weeks before they get another one deposited. Now, of course, it takes a couple of weeks, but you have to certify, like, yes, I will have used all the funds. And I have some things that I've posted specifically because there are some places that are advocating for you applying for 2 back-to-back. I do not think that the guidance supports doing that. But if they extend the deadline, it may allow for people that just now got, or maybe in the last 2 months or so, just got their first draw to get a second draw if they qualify. Again, you'd have to have that decline in gross receipts. Let's see. Okay. So a couple other things I wanted to bring up that I didn't talk about on Wednesday as much. There are a couple other things. So it is now looking to me from my read, for anybody who was waiting on the Shuttered venue grant. So this is for Shuttered venues this is like music venues, things like that. If you were waiting on that, they're still not open. But it used to be that you couldn't get PPP and a Shuttered venue grant, or at least this round of PPP in 2021 and a Shuttered venue grant. Now, under the new rules, and I can't find a lot out there aren't many articles yet, but under my read of the bill, it looks like you can. And once you get the Shuttered venue grant, you can just subtract the PPP from it. So that's great, because the problem that people were having is that they were waiting for the Shuttered venue grant. They didn't want to apply for a PPP because they didn't want to disqualify themselves, but then they're not sure if they're going to get the Shuttered venue grant. So my read is that you should be able to get both of those things. That's how I'm reading the bill. Go ahead. I can post the bill out here too, so that you guys can see it here. I'll do that in the comments so that you can actually read the bill yourselves. And, because I know you guys want to do that, right? Here's the actual bill. It should be posting on there, but this is where you can find it. You can just go to congress.gov/bill, and it's called the American something. What's it called? The American Rescue Plan Act. So you can search for that at congress.gov too, if you want to. But it looks like you can now get both of them. The credits for paid leave. Okay. So remember, we could get tax credits for paid sick and family leave. They've extended that now. It also applies to people getting the vaccine. So if you have to be off because of the vaccine, getting the vaccine, or because you had side effects from the vaccine, that's also covered under the COVID sick and family leave. And it's been extended. So it's not mandatory anymore, or at least not right now. But it was going through, it was going to be resetting April, or it was going to be over by April 1st, and now it's extending through September 30th. So that means you can continue to, if you're an employer, and you have to let people off, right? You get 10 days of sick leave. That resets. Okay, so this is the new part. That 10 days resets on April 1st. So, it was previous that if you use the full 10 days in 2020, you couldn't, you've used up per employee. It's based on a per employee. But if that employee had already taken their 10 days of COVID leave, they couldn't get it again. Right. So maybe it was a false alarm, or maybe you had to quarantine the whole crew. And so there's no more leave left. Now you can, it's going to, as of April 1st, reset the clock. So you get another 10 days per employee starting April 1st, from April 1st to September 30th. So I think that's really great. It does. Yes, the extended sick leave, it does. I believe there will be another tax credit available for self-employed when you go to your 2021 taxes. So right now, the way we're doing that for 2020, right, the sick and family leave, if you guys haven't grabbed my calculator, I need you to. Jamie, if you're self-employed, JamieTrull.com/FFCRA. Okay. It's a calculator. It comes with a video. It shows you how to calculate your COVID sick or family leave. If you had to stay home because your kid's daycare or school was closed for a period of time, you can get a tax credit worth up to $15,000. Actually, it might be more like 17 now, because they also extended the days. I haven't updated it for the day extension in this bill. I will. So if you get it now, you'll get the updated one when the guidance fully comes out on all of that. But I believe that would also apply to 2021. I don't see why it wouldn't. So I believe you'll be able to get that also in 2021. Let's see. Okay. So stimulus, go back and watch this afterwards. Because I had a whole threshold. You have 3 chances: 2019, 2020, and 2021. So go back and look. Okay, so 100% COBRA premium subsidy is effective from April 1st to September 2021. So if somebody loses their job, right, they get COBRA, and it was an involuntary termination, right? They can remain on health insurance through COBRA. The employer will pass the subsidy along to the ex-employee, and essentially it's zero cost. So that's really cool too, by the way. 100% subsidy for COBRA if you've lost your job. Okay. There's another $24 billion that's going to child care facilities to help you guys. That's great. I also wanted to talk about ERTC, Employee Retention Tax Credit. So my employers out there, you've probably heard me talking about this quite a bit. I have a calculator for it, JamieTrull.com/ERTC. You can save, I was saying up to $19,000 per employee, but now it's more than that because they've extended it into Q3 and Q4. So it goes all the way now. It was ending after Q2. Now employee retention tax credit goes all the way to the end of the year if you qualify. So I'm going to update again once we get a little bit more guidance and some of the specifics out of this bill. Then I will update the calculator, and everybody who bought it will get the new updated one that includes Q3 and Q4. Thank you, Autumn. You are always on it. That's awesome. So that's just something I really wanted to point out too, is that you've got some extensions on some of these programs that we had. So there's still more in there. I mean, there's a ton in the bill. I'm touching on the main things that apply to business owners here because that is the primary focus that I have. But there's even things like the child tax credit it's going to change a lot for people. If you make under $150,000 in household income, you can get the child tax credit. Used to be $2,000 per child, and you'd get it when you filed your taxes. The change they're making now, at least for 2021, is that the child tax credit has gone up to $3,000 if your kid is, I believe it's 6 and over, but it might be over 6. I always get confused on the cutoff. I'm not sure if the 6-year-old is included, but let's say 6 and over, you get $3,000. Under 6, you get $3,600. But here's the kicker on that tax credit. And it's a 2021 tax credit, but they're going to start paying that out early as July. So they're going to pay either monthly or quarterly. I think we're still waiting on the details of that. But it'd be equivalent to $250 to $300 a month that you would get ahead of time, that you would get paid to you during the year that you could use. So that's kind of a cool thing. It's still a tax credit, kind of similar to how the stimulus checks are a tax credit, but they're going to give them to you early. So you have the cash when you actually need it, which I think is really important, especially right now. Yes, there are some changes with healthcare, especially with if you are using the marketplace and the limits and things like that on like the income limits phase outs and stuff like that. I haven't gone into depth reading about it, but yes, there are some positive things there as well that kind of prevent you from having issues with your exchange healthcare. Let me see. Sorry, I'm looking back through. I just want to make sure that I got to the main points of what I had to talk about. I think I got to all the main stuff. There's so much in this bill, you guys. There's so much in this bill. So I don't remember the date they're using. I don't remember the date that they're using. I think you'll probably be okay for 2019. You'll probably still get it, but I don't know what the exact cutoff date. It gets a little squirrely in there. Okay. So yes. So typically state grants, unless they have specifically, grants are usually, if they're business grants, they're usually taxable as income in most cases. Okay. The exception to that rule have been forgiven PPP, EIDL advances, some of these other grants through the federal kind of CARES Act and these other stimulus programs. But other grants, if you like state grants, things like that, more than likely those are probably taxable. So I would expect that they would be included in it in most cases, unless they are one of those things that's been explicitly called out in some of this legislation, which your state grants probably have not been. Let's see. I believe that's been extended to, I can't remember. They have lots in the bill about rent support and support for people on the brink of homelessness and mortgage support, things like that. They've got a lot of things. I can't remember the exact date of when that happens, but there's also going to be things that you can apply for to get assistance so that you can pay those things to be less likely to worry about foreclosures. So there is a lot in there too about all of that. Well, it depends. It depends. By your state, maybe. I wish I had there is a really good map that shows you what is taxable. I'm going to look for it. Let me see real quickly. That shows you essentially where forgiven PPP is taxed, what states. It's not taxed federally, and neither is your EIDL grant, but some states are going to tax it, and those are the states that are not conforming with the federal rules. So more than half of the states are conforming, which means that you don't have to worry about that, but some of them are not. Let me see if I can I'm going to check real quickly if I can find this. Nope, I'm not finding it very quickly. Go figure. But there is, I think if you go to announcements underneath in the group, if you go to the announcements tab, you might be able to find where I have posted that map. Okay. What else? Oh, wow. See, that's shocking. Are you sure? I haven't heard of anybody getting it, because literally, I mean, maybe they signed it yesterday. That's moderately shocking, but maybe not impossible. Anybody else get that today? I hadn't heard that they were already sending them out, but maybe. let's see. All right. Okay, guys. Well, I'm going to head on out. So I've got lots of other videos, though. If you want to go back and check, I do one of these stimulus Q&As every single Friday. So there's other ones that you can check out. I also, like I said, did a whole live on this past Wednesday about the new stimulus bill that goes into more detail on some of this stuff. I also did a live the week before specifically about the changes for PPP. Actually, the live I did the week before was for an overview of the PPP program. So if you're like, I have no idea if I qualify, we're getting a lot of people like that in the group that are like, I don't know, I've been told I need to look at this, but I don't even know what's going on with this. And so if you want to know, like, what is PPP? Who qualifies for PPP? How do you calculate it? How do I get one? Like, I have an overview video for that as well. A good place to check is always my YouTube channel. So, you can go check me out, just Jamie Trull on YouTube, and look through all of my playlists and other videos if you're looking for more information. Sorry for not getting to everybody's question. I've got three different locations that are watching me here. So all these questions are getting collated together, and it's tough to keep up with the feed because there's a lot going on. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon. I will be back next week, and have a great one. Remember, go get your PPP loan and don't file your taxes this week. Bye, guys.